All right, in the next quick videos, we're sliding back into after our midterm break. We're going to be looking at the media and society and some of the problems of media. So in this video, we're going to talk about what media is and then dig into some of the issues around it, which are very relevant today. We're going to think about power and privacy, who owns and controls our media. We're going to think about digital divide and literacy. How does everybody know how to use media differently? And then how we use it for impression management and how it can be used for social control. First, what do we mean when we talk about media? Most people think social media, but what media literally means is between or in the middle. Um, and so if you think about how we use the word immediate, immediate means there is no media. There's nothing between you and me, for example. If you're immediately in front of me, that means you're right in front of me. Much of the time when we're talking to one another, it's immediate communication because if we're actually there talking to each other, we see each other, there's nothing between us. So media are forms of communication between people that take on a kind of a third form that transmits communication somehow. And this is not just electronic. We might be thinking of mass media, which we do have. We have the news and increasingly internet and other forms of communication. Social media transmits this. But we can also talk about things like texting. We can talk about writing. The earliest form of media really takes the shape of writing. You put something down on paper um, and you transmit it to someone else. You hand it to them. Media have been responsible for some of the greatest changes in human society. Um, the ability to spread an idea beyond word of mouth, to put it down in a fixed form and print it over and over. The printing press, for example, is seen as one of the most important technological developments in human history because all of a sudden you can transmit ideas beyond your village, beyond your town. You can theoretically transmit them to the whole world. Then we had television, radio. All of these are forms of media. Think about something like the Communist Manifesto, um, which was a very, very popular publication by Karl Marx. It was a political pamphlet, and it spread ideas of communism way beyond Germany or actually England, where he was writing them, because he was kicked out of Germany for his writing. So media encompasses all of these things. Though today a lot of it is electronic, it's not all of it. So what are some of the problems that come with media? Well, one thing we need to think about is who has power and control over media. Who, for example, said you could or could not print something. Increasingly, control, access, and power are very pressing contemporary issues. Um, every day we hear about um, companies or corporations or other groups who have massive data breaches, who lose lots and lots of data to hackers and um, to various nefarious actors. Um, do we control our own media? Much of the time we think we do, but most of us are probably out there in a dark web data bank somewhere with our, if not our social security number, our account number that are bought and sold in bulk by criminal actors. Um, Increasingly today, as we move more and more of our lives online during the pandemic, this issue has come to the forefront. Are your Zoom meetings really, um, are your Zoom meetings really private? Are people listening in? Can they Zoom bomb them, as I guess it's kind of known? Who has access to the content you create? These videos, for example, are unlisted. You can access them via a link, but if I upload all of this content and then anyone can freely get it available, then why would they pay me for classes? So for teachers, for example, control over the mediatization of their lecture and their knowledge is an important part of how they navigate the pandemic and online learning. Many institutions that do formal online learning claim access to those, ownership, pardon me, of those materials. So who has access to your information? Who has control over it? These are serious and pressing issues. Much of what companies who make their living on the internet do is buy and sell our information. That's how they make money. And so increasingly, this is a pressing concern for all of us. Another issue in this day and age is the question of what is real and fake. There are technologies out there that not only allow us to alter pictures now, but to replicate voices that are increasingly sophisticated, and soon they'll even be able to create video of things that didn't happen. How do we know what's real and fake? Much of the things that come through our feeds, come through our phones, are intended to get our attention, to sway us, to move us. And increasingly as this happens, the line between what's real and not becomes unclear. For example, earlier this summer, the president rather infamously posed with the Bible after he'd gassed protesters outside of a church, or rather had the Defense Department do that. And quickly, of course, this became an opportunity for internet pranksters to have his picture with My Pet Goat, with the Necronomicon, with, well, naughty hentai. Of course, none of these are real, but with enough sophisticated technology, how do we know? Part of what we're going to be talking about in class this week is literacy. How do we learn to spot fake news, things that are targeted to make us mad or angry, or perhaps more insidiously, maybe to make us stay at home, to not vote, to not care?